Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I am your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm the founder of the Transformation Center, which is based here in Westport, Connecticut. And it's a place where you can come to really discover or rediscover who you truly are and let go of everything that you're not. And we do that through our shamanic healing sessions, through our coaching sessions. We have classes, we have workshops. You know, there's so much available. And I love to host other practitioners too. So you can go on our website. We're going to put up the slide with our contact info and just see what's there. You know, there's an event calendar. We're going to have sound baths this summer in the backyard, which I absolutely love. So there's a lot going on. And I do offer a 30-minute free consultation. If you're interested in that, you can just let me know. All right, so Conscious Conversations is one of my favorite things to do because I love talking to people, finding out who they are, what they're up to, you know, just learning. I always learn so much when we have these conversations. So I'm excited tonight. My guest is Jess Holt. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that we met and talked about it recently. We met up at another great group called Haven, which is based in Darien and Greenwich too. They have a place there, and it's like a co-working space, but there's so much more there. They have events.
It's a beautiful space.
Yeah, beautiful space, and they have speakers. They have it's fabulous. So anyway, I want to read a little bit about Jess before we get started, and then we'll put up your slide with your info as well. Okay. So I love this. Jess is a practitioner of woo. Yes. I love that you own
woo.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Woo is a good thing.
Yes.
So she primarily focuses on providing therapy and astrology counseling to individuals. So we're going to learn all about that today.
Yes.
That's like a different
It
twist
is.
on it.
It is.
Yeah,
I'll definitely go into more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jess also dabbles in tarot, yoga, and Ayurveda, weaving these into her sessions when appropriate. So every session is a little bit different, tailored.
Uniquely tailored to you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And she also offers private mentoring, group workshops, and fun events. All right, fun events within the realm of mental health and or mystical practices. You know, I love that combination because it's all related.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. And I find that being able to use so many different things together is what helps it really tailor to the person sitting in front of me. I really want the human to be the center of the work,
that totally
not the
makes
astrology,
sense.
not the tarot, right? I want them to inform what the human needs.
Oh, wow. That's a perfect way of saying it. Right. Because when somebody comes to you, it's not like, okay, you know, it's all about this. No, it's all about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I find that, you know, what maybe where astrology counseling differs a little bit from a regular astrology reading is a lot of times people go in for an astrology reading, and I don't know if you've had one before, but it's very information heavy. I mean, the chart can just show you so much.
It's overwhelming is the way I would describe it.
It is overwhelming. And so because I also am a therapist and a counselor by nature, I want to give you enough information where maybe it makes you feel like validated, or like you don't question, like, oh yeah, that is me, that is who I am. But then we get to take that information, look at whatever issue you might be going through, and say, okay, so now that you know this, what's the next practical step? So instead of like info dumping and you just kind of leaving, I want to bring that counseling perspective to now, how do we really integrate this into what you want with your life?
Okay.
So it brings in that practical side to that, you know, information, you know, that can, be overwhelming.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because it's like you help them figure out like what to do with the information.
Exactly.
Really, right?
Yeah, like I'm looking at the chart, which is, you know, you've got 10 planets, and they're all in different signs and different houses, and whatever that means to you, it doesn't matter, because I'm the astrologer that's going to interpret it for you. Okay. So you don't have to be the expert understanding all of the, you know, calculations that I'm making or what each planet is. Like, you don't have to remember that. You just have to know and trust that I'm using it as a map to help me get a view into your life and the probabilities of maybe what you're going through, and then find those possibilities. And I'll do that leg lift of the work to interpret, and you just get to receive and then give me the human side of what it is that you need to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like what it means and no, I think all astrologers should do this.
Different things for different people, but I really love that I can bring this to the work. But because most astrologers are not counselors.
Okay, well, that's a good point. So you started with the counseling.
Yes.
You know, I didn't actually. There's a little bit more here that you sent me, so I can read this because I really love the way you described this. That Jess defines magic as a shift in perception, because that is so important, and it's not. It's really. Available.
Yes.
You know, we can do this, right?
Yes.
As humans, we can do this. So it's not like so woo-woo.
Yeah, right. It's like reclaiming the woo. It's not all just like out in the air and the ether. It's practical. It's things we can do in our day-to-day lives.
Right.
We can all shift our perceptions. So therefore, we can all practice magic.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I totally love that. Yeah. And you also said that you love working with tools that can engage people's sense of curiosity about themselves or about
themselves,
everything.
about the world. I mean, I think whatever it is, curiosity can help you get unstuck. And that's one of the tools for shifting your perception and for seeing things in a different way.
Right. Yeah. It's a good place to start, being curious about stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's totally. And so this is Jess brings a grounded, patient, and compassionate presence. I totally feel that, to help folks make meaningful changes that allow them to live a more authentic life. Yeah. So how did you get into this to begin with? You started with the counseling, the therapy?
Yeah, I think it started just me being, kind of searching for like,
curious.
Who am I, right? Being curious. It totally did. And I grew up very I loved studying. I loved school. I was like always so interested in learning. But there was something about kind of these more spiritual or mystical practices that I was just closed off to. And probably like my upbringing, my friends, there's nothing personal about it. It just wasn't, I just thought, what is astrology? We're not, there's only 12 signs. We're not all 12 things. Like we're so much more nuanced than that. And I think as I got into my early 20s, there was just something kind of banging in the back of my head saying like, how can you be certain that there's nothing out there? Isn't that just the same as being certain that there is something and it has to be defined? And so the more I kind of let that curiosity, like that door open, the more I just became interested in giving things a chance. And so I got my first ever astrology reading, and I was in grad school at the time to become a therapist or a clinical social worker. And I just remember being so blown away at how deep the practice was. It wasn't just 12 signs. It was planets, it was asteroids, it was the houses, and the way that they're all uniquely tailored to you at the moment that you were born and took your first breath, And so it just really opened my mind. And I was just doing it for fun. I was learning about it. It kind of combined all of my interests. I mean, astrology is math, it's history, it's sociology, all in one. And so I was like, wow, this is like everything I've ever loved to study. Wow. And I just got so interested in it that I decided, well, I'm a therapist. I can certainly add this as another part of my practice. And so it just kind of, it just unfolded, and I just listened to my heart kind of pulling me forward. Wow. And it developed into where I am now. Wow, and the tarot amazing. Came the same way. It was like, oh, this is interesting. I've never been open to this before. And then it was like, oh, this is really cool. Oh, I really like doing this for myself. Oh, I really like doing this for friends. And now it's
so you added that into your
part of my practice. Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
And over how many years did that unfold?
Let's see. I've been a therapist for almost 10 years. And so I would say I've been doing tarot for probably like 9 of those years, again, starting personally and expanding. And then the astrology took a little longer because astrology is a really vast
It's very
knowledge
complex,
set.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's really complex. So to the layperson, I'm an advanced astrologer. I can look at your chart and give you info. But to the astrology world, I like to think of myself as an intermediate astrologer and advanced counselor. So it's like
Yeah.
the astrology's probably been, I'd say maybe the past 6 years.
Yeah. Well, that's
So,
great
Yeah.
that you have that option available. And so do you find that you, like most of the time when people come to you, do they know what they're coming for, or how does that work?
I would say yes. People know on some level, people want the astrology.
That it's available
That
to
it's
them?
available to them. I think if anything, people maybe expect it to be a little more like a traditional astrology reading. They're like, tell me all about my chart and tell me all these things. And I really am like, well, let's slow down. I actually feel like the person I'm sitting with doesn't even need the astrology info. I need it as the counselor. I need it to kind of unlock the map, right?
Oh.
But the person sitting in front of me doesn't actually need the specifics. Now, if they're interested in it, of course, I'm going to share that with them.
Yeah.
But it's really more, imagine sitting across from someone that doesn't know you very well. And they're like, okay, I'm looking at your chart and I'm seeing, did you have, this kind of childhood, or did you go through this experience, or, is this some conditioning that you've inherited somewhere? And people go, oh my gosh, yeah, how did you know? Right? I don't have to say, oh, well, because the sun is square Pluto and the moon here, right? Like then we kind of start to get into the jargon. And unless you're interested in becoming an astrologer, it's not relevant.
Yeah, they don't need the details.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
It's really, that's where it gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
Is when people give you all those details,
Yeah.
and then you're like, well, okay, but what does it mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you can just kind of not skip over, but just like you said, it's for you, not for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then it just goes into what, not a typical therapy, but more.
The
more
difference between therapy and astrology counseling is that in therapy, one, I'm only licensed in the state of New York, so I only work with New York-based clients. And two, in a therapy session, I am looking at it a lot more clinically. I create a diagnosis. We might be there might be some acute crisis happening where you need immediate resources. In astrology counseling, it's a little more like coaching. So of course,
thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Of course, your past may come up, or things that are challenging you are going to be a central part of what we do together. But there's just a little bit more distance away from like the deep psychology or crisis of whatever's going on. So, and I have people come in for one session because they're like, I just have this one topic, let's dive in. And I have people who want to work with me for a few weeks, over the course of a few weeks. And I'd say in one session, maybe there's a little more astrology. People want to know a little more. But if we're working together longer term, we can kind of put the astrology more and more on my plate and take it off of yours and really work through the issue using the knowledge and the wisdom that are in your birth chart.
Yeah, right. Yeah, do you find that sometimes people don't even really know why they came?
Yeah, sometimes I think people are kind of just curious, which I love, right? That's my whole thing, right? And usually those sessions, though, can lead to really interesting places because they are so open-ended about it. And so I might say, well, here are some signatures that I see. Is that resonant for you? And that will spark their interest, and it kind of is a more intuitively guided session.
Right, just more naturally, like you're kind of experimenting or exploring. Exploring what's available.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I can see that. Yeah. That's amazing. Do you ever do groups?
I've not done groups for astrology, and that's just because, sometimes I'll go out and, be with people and they'll find out I'm an astrologer and they're like, oh, you look at my chart and tell me this. And like the shorter answer is sure, yes. But the long answer is I spend over an hour preparing for my first astrology reading with someone. Because you really need to focus on all of the different layers to get to the unique interpretation, rather than just maybe some of the more kind of cookbook, oh, I'll tell you about this planet in this place. And so doing that for a group would just be so much work. But I think what's fun for a group, and I have done before, is I do a little bit more of like a teaching session. Okay. So I did one recently where we just focused on the moon. And the moon is all about your emotional world and your body. And so I had everyone come in with their charts, and we just identified what house and what sign is the moon in. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of went through like, the theme was around just tending to your emotional body, and like how to do that by using your moon sign. So it's not an individualized reading where we're diving into the uniqueness, but everyone got something from it, because you can kind of take that information with a grain of salt, since we're not looking at the whole context of the chart, and decide if that's helpful for you to include in your routines or in your life. And so stuff like that is, I think, fun for groups, especially if it's like the moon and like a group of friends and you really love each other. You can kind of be like, oh, this is how, I know that about this person. That's how they are. Oh, that's how we can support each other. Because again, I like giving the practical stuff. So that's where Ayurveda comes in big time for me. So a lot of these, like, what do you do when you have this moon sign? You know, let's say your moon is in Cancer and you have really big waves of emotion. You will need to give yourself a lot of space to feel that and allow the emotion to kind of roll through you, right? It's a water sign, so we want there to be some kind of flow. And so now you have this practical piece of, okay, when things feel really big, maybe all I can do is like take myself to the bathroom and take a deep breath because I'm in the middle of something and I can't just get up and leave. But maybe on a regular monthly basis, I can take myself on a long walk in nature and just kind of talk to myself or yell or cry or laugh, and you just feel the big like rolling waves of that. And so it gives you a little bit of, here's what you can do in like an emergency situation, and here's what you can do as a normal routine for yourself to take care of you. And that's like a fun thing, I think, that we can all learn in groups and just have a more open conversation about. But I do like doing tarot in groups, because tarot is a lot more, it's a little bit quicker because we can pull the cards and we're just interpreting from that moment. So that can be fun in groups. And then this is, you know, but I really do also just love teaching. So I've done things where I'll go into like a therapist environment and I'll teach like what happens when your client is using astrology. You don't have to be an astrologer, but how do you work with that? Or just different mental health topics.
Right. Well, that's a great idea, actually, to teach other therapists about that, because it seems like it's really helpful for people.
Yeah. And it's really popular right now. So I think there are other practitioners out there that's like, this person's coming to me saying, you know, this is, you know, my moon is here and my Venus is here and this is what it means. And they're like, I don't understand any of this. And so how do you help people work with it without having to know about the astrology?
Yeah. You don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to go to school like you did for it.
Yeah. Even just being able to, sometimes people are, I think, anxiously reaching for that information, and then they start to identify with it. Like, I am a blank, right? I am a Gemini. And then they're like, that's all I am. And that's why I am the way I am. And there's this important role that any clinician can help people with, which is, well, this says something about who you are, but coming back to you, the human, is still the most important thing. Coming back to what do you want for your relationships? How do you want to work with that energy when it is bumping up against someone? And so again, helping therapists maybe identify, when is somebody anxiously identifying with something, and they might really want to help them explore what is your connection to this, versus when is somebody using it and it's really helping propel their relationships forward and helping them understand themselves. So I think that's where therapists or any other practitioner where someone's bringing in astrology can just help someone connect to themselves.
Right.
Connect to their motivation.
Yeah, and take the anxiety out of it, like you said, and because it feels like that's a big part of therapy in general, is helping, you know, you get more comfortable with who you are, and not have that anxiety about any, you know, what you could be, what you should be, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So do you see any trends in mental health that you can think of? Just curious,
Yeah.
like, are there more people needing assistance or
I mean,
counseling?
I don't know if it's more people now or if it's just more accessible and talked about now. So maybe there's more people that are even thinking about therapy as something on their radar. But I do think, so a lot of my therapy work is grounded in helping people work through grief.
Okay.
And when I say grief, I don't just mean the loss of a person, but the loss, the collective loss of the giant changes that people go through. It can also be the loss of the hopes and dreams that we had for ourselves. Could be the loss of the relationship we wish we had with someone that just isn't going to come to fruition. And so when I frame this therapy work as grief work, helping people settle into the uncertainty, connect to themselves, and move forward step by step, then I do think there's a huge need for it right now because there is so much collective uncertainty. There's so much collective chaos. And, you know, ideally we would have community resources to fill those spaces. And I think we do have some of those, but I think where it's lacking, therapy can be something that steps in temporarily to kind of help people come back to themselves so that they can go out and create that community that they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, because I keep hearing and reading about there's so much uncertainty, like you said, anxiety. People are, like just worried all the time, it feels like, and they maybe don't have the resources. So, and I think also it's helpful to normalize that it's okay not to be okay. I know that sounds trite and everything, but it's true.
It totally is.
I think especially with young people. I mean, you're probably, a lot closer to it than I am.
Yeah.
So it's like they have this ideal vision of how they're supposed to be, and they're looking at.
And that's grief to me. That is grief work.
Okay.
Because if you're not who you're supposed to be, then you're grieving who you think you're supposed to be. And if you ignore that grief, that's where you keep pushing and pushing yourself into burnout. Right. But when you can sit with like, this is who I should be for whatever reason, I don't know how I got there, but this is actually where I'm at and who I am, we can then come to the present moment and really assess what do we want to do from here, knowing that the thing that we really wish we had right now isn't. And I think astrology can also be really helpful for this type of work because for any listeners that maybe don't know about astrology, you're basically taking a snapshot of the moment that you were born and you're looking at where the planets are in the sky, and that is going to give you information about yourself, your psychology, your conditioning, your inherited conditions. And so I think when someone is like, who am I supposed to be? I'm supposed to be someone. We can actually look at the astrology and say, okay, well, this is what you were born into. This is what you have inherited. These are the problems that you might face. These are the patterns that you might notice coming up over and over in your life or in your psyche. And I think for some people, it gives them enough affirmation and reassurance that they're not crazy. They weren't supposed to be something that they're not. This is just the reality of the energies that they're working with. And then again, from that place, we can slow down enough to then say, well, what's possible from this current context, not from some imaginary thing that we think we're supposed to be. So it really roots us into what's real.
That's very comforting. Feels like it to me.
Yeah.
For people to hear that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like starting with where you are.
Yes. And where you are, of course we're born with one chart, right? The sky stays the same, but then we go through these cycles as the planets continue to move, right? So all of the planets move in this circle and then have conversations with all the planets in our chart. And that happens in cycles because the planets move around the earth, right? Or move around the sun rather.
Yeah.
And so now, whether you're coming to me at 20 or you're coming to me at 50, we're going to use the same chart, but we can also start to look at, well, what have you been through? What cycles have you already been through? And so we're going to take a little bit different of an approach to kind of understand, well, what have you learned? What time periods have been challenging for you? What time periods have been really great for you? What did you build? And I think it's just like feeling the comfort of, I'm not supposed to be anywhere except for where I am right now. And I have these things that are cycling through, some of which we experience once in a lifetime because the planets move really slowly, and some of which we experience every year, every month. Every month, the moon has a conversation with every single one of the planets in our chart, and then it starts over. I think that's why people like working with the moon. It's like we can see it moving, we see it get full, we see it, get new. And so if you wanted to do something on a micro level where there's cycles that are shifting all the time, then you work with the moon.
Okay. Well, yeah, and so many people do.
Yeah.
Around here, there's always a full moon session for this or new moon for that. So talk a little bit about that. What is the difference? What's the meaning behind it, or how does it work with people?
I mean, of course, the moon goes into so many traditions because we see it and we see it changing. And so many different places around the world have taken that wisdom and learned from it. So it really depends on how you want to work with it. Like, I just think that there's so many different meanings, and what's important is to find whatever resonates and clicks with you. But I work a little less with the moon. I work more with the outer planets that are really slow moving ones. Okay. And so those, again, though, are going to be more tailored to each individual. It's not going to be as collective as the moon can feel sometimes. And part of that is because, as a person who likes to counsel, when we're working with the planet Saturn or later, then the transits, the astrology transits that we're going through are going to be anywhere from like 2 weeks to 2 years. And so now we can really harness this slow moving energy that's kind of, really uprooting something in our life. And then we have a longer time period to say, okay, how do I want to work with this energy? Whereas what's so nice, I think, about the moon and people working with the moon is it's like we can celebrate the full moon and like the culmination of everything getting brighter, and now it's at its peak and it's shining light on everything. And then we can work with that energy as it becomes dark again. And then when it's dark, it's like there's endless possibility, and we can plant new things and we can seed ideas, and then it gets full again. So there is something to, like, do you want to work with a faster paced planet or a slower paced planet?
Right.
And that you might look at your astrology chart to say, well, what's more in your nature?
Okay.
So if
maybe I'm really curious.
Maybe I'm working with someone who's like their moon is really strong, and I'm like, okay, they really want to work with the rhythms and cycles of the day-to-day life. Maybe I'm working with someone that's got Saturn really strong in their chart, like me. It's like, I want structure. I want to build the 30-year plan, not the 2-week plan. Maybe I'm working with someone who's very Jupiterian. Now, instead of looking at, the structure and the limitations of something, we're going to talk a little more about, well, what do you need to do to expand yourself? Jupiter is a very expansive, big planet. So there's just so many ways we can look at the chart, see what planets are really calling out, and then kind of guide, like, oh, maybe you want to work with this kind of thing, or maybe you want to work with this kind of thing. And ultimately it comes back to you, the human, to say, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. But yeah, I kind of like being able to give a little bit of a like head start on like, okay, try this first. And if it doesn't land, come back. But this is the most likely thing I see that will land for you.
Yeah. Well, that's terrific.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. I really appreciate it. Yeah. We are going to have to wrap up.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it goes by fast.
It goes by so fast.
Yeah, but thank you so much for being here today, Jess. And thank you to our audience for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you to the Westport Library, Verso Studios. We love you guys. See you the next time on Conscious Conversations.
Thank you so much.